Good evening, everyone. We are back continuing our sort of little mini Wizard of Oz retrospective that we've been doing. We're only a couple of weeks away now. I think like 2 weeks until Wicked. I keep wanting to say Wicked Part 2. Wicked for Good comes out, and we're still
actually... Wicked Part 1, when it comes up on the screen, it says Wicked Part 1, so I don't know.
Does it actually? That kills me if they're not going to do Part 2. That was like when the last two Mission Impossible films came out. So the seventh one was called Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1. But then because it didn't do well, they thought if they changed the title for the Part 2 and not call it a Part 2, it'll make more money. So then the final part's called The Final Reckoning. It's like, but you called your other one Part 1. Anyway, titling aside, we haven't decided what we're going to do for that yet. We'll go to the cinema to see it, but we're trying to figure out days for that. But suffice to say, we've got a couple of weeks left. And we are here tonight talking about the one from 2013. This is Oz the Great and Powerful, directed by Sam Raimi. This was a film that neither of us had seen before. So the previous 2 weeks, we'd already seen, obviously, the original Wizard of Oz and Return to Oz. But this was a first for us. And I had to keep reminding myself that this movie existed. This seems like it was a film that was like, oh yeah, I remember when like I've seen like a couple of trailers for that thing back in 2013. And then it was just gone out of my mind for like all of these years now.
It's gone from my mind.
Yeah, it's. I mean, that's going to set the stage for our review for this thing, right? So, I
think like, to be fair, I think some of the things I've said to you about this movie and some of the things I will say are probably quite harsh because it's not as bad as I might sound that it is. That I might give off the impression it is. It's just not good. You know.
Yeah, it's I was looking forward to this movie based on the fact that I heard something. What was that?
Yeah,
I was looking forward to this based on the fact that Sam Raimi was the director. I can still
I don't know what's going on. Hang on. I don't know what's going on. So it's connected to my phone. I don't know what's coming through.
Oh my god. Okay, I was going to say mute yourself. Right, I'll continue. Right, I was looking forward to this because Sam Raimi directed it. I'm a big Sam Raimi fan. I love his Evil Dead films, you know, the holy trinity that is the Spider-Man trilogy. Love that. And he always brings that weird, kooky, slightly slapstick at times, you know, like crazy camera angles and creepy, fun imagery. And I thought that would be... I can hear you now. It's not bleeping.
But there wasn't loads of beeping coming through, was there? Did it
No, you muted yourself. Yeah.
That's fine. Yeah. We'll continue. Sorry.
Yeah, so I was going to say, I really like Sam Raimi's style. I think it's really fun, and I was interested and intrigued to see what he would bring to The Wizard of Oz, which, having watched Return to Oz, we know can go to a very, very dark, creepy place. So I was cautiously optimistic for this one. I wasn't holding my breath because no one's really talked about this movie. Oh, I can... Still making you bleeping noises.
I don't know. Something's attached to my phone. We'll just ignore it. We'll keep going.
As long as it doesn't keep doing it, it's going to get on my tits. But like the original Wizard of Oz is, you know, a place in film history. Of course it is. Return to Oz has found that cult following. Most people that you talk to that have seen it say, oh yeah, no, I really like it, but it's really creepy. This one, everyone's like, oh yeah, is that one with James Franco? Oh yeah, I didn't really care for it. I think general consensus is either people didn't like it or it's very mid. It's a very forgettable movie. It's a perfectly serviceable film, but it ain't pushing the boundaries or anything like that.
The thing, let me try that sentence again. The thing I have such an issue with this is there's some cool elements. If I was to pinpoint some cool elements, there are some good elements. There's the whole there is a very Alice in Wonderland vibe with like the broken you know, when he goes to like when he meets the little China doll and you know, like just the way everything like there's a good aesthetic to some bits when they meet Glinda at first, and there's the whole you know, in the dark forest. So that's like there's some really cool stuff where it's some good shots even when, you know, where there's the fog and they're on top and there's the whole kind of Lion King kind of mountain sort of thing. Like there's some really cool looking stuff. I will not deny that. But when you have, like, for instance, the fog and it looks fake, it's sometimes like I was there like, and then I thought, well, you know what? It looks quite stage show, which is a big essence of Wizard of Oz, which is fine, but it missed the mark completely. You know, it's kind of like the original Wizard of Oz had such a stage kind of look to it, which is really cool. And this kind of is like, oh, we tried to capture that. It's like, you didn't do a very good job, did you?
Yeah, honestly, the thing that sort of kills this film for me is the massive over-reliance on CGI. Now, CGI has its place, but and maybe this looked good back in 2013, but I mean, we've seen CGI and stuff like Lord of the Rings, which came out in the early 2000s, Davy Jones, which is probably one of the best examples of CGI ever. And all of them look a darn sight better than this one. The way that the actors were sort of chroma keyed onto the background and composited in, they were walking around, and at no point did I think, I believe that, James Franco's character or whatever is in this world. He is just walking on a soundstage in front of a green screen, and there's no tangibility to anything.
He was a big issue for me. I really hated his fucking portrayal. I did not like him. I thought he was crap. I thought it was cheesy, but the wrong kind of cheesy. Not a nice goat's cheese, but a left out fucking cheddar that was sat on your windowsill for 4 months.
He's one of those actors where I do like that Sam Raimi does work with the same actors multiple times. The role originally wasn't given to James Franco or offered to James Franco. Robert Downey Jr. was in the mix. He was the first one that they were going to try and get. This is, Disney 2013. We're fresh off Avengers hype at the moment, so you can understand why they'd want a big name draw like Robert Downey Jr. And I actually think he would have been pretty good. If you see like his Sherlock Holmes films and whatnot, they might not be the best films of all time, but he can do that quirky, sort of kooky wizard-like character, I think. And then also Johnny Depp, the Pirates of the Caribbean films at that time. Disney hadn't, severed their ties with him at that point. So they were going for big names, but I think it was just scheduling with stuff. I think Robert Downey Jr. turned it down, but I think Johnny Depp was, he was tied in with the Lone Ranger, which, I mean, out of the two, the Lone Ranger bombed. I mean, how well did this one do, actually? Let me just double check that. I can't remember how well this one did. Budget of 215 mil.
Made its money back, didn't it?
Well, we think that 250 mil budget is exceptionally high. Then you've got to think about marketing for this thing. Now, I don't know how crazy marketing this was. Let's say it was 150 as a conservative estimate. Made 500 mil. So, yeah, it made a profit, but probably not an exceptional amount. But anyway, they get James Franco in. Now, Sam Raimi had worked with him, of course, on the Spider-Man films as Harry Osborn. Now, in those films, and maybe this is because I grew up with them, I do see the character of Harry Osborn. When I watch those films, I don't say, oh, James Franco. I say, oh, Harry Osborn. But pretty much every other film James Franco's in, I say, oh, that's just James Franco. It's the personality of the actor. So I want to see a Tom Cruise movie. At no point, maybe like Maverick from like Top Gun, just because it's in the name. But most of the time, I'll just be like, oh, that's Tom Cruise in whatever. It's the stopper. It's, Arnold Schwarzenegger, Stallone. It's that name power behind it. So yeah, it's difficult. When I watch this, I don't really see the character of, the Oz the Great and Powerful. I just say, oh, that's James Franco walking in front of a green screen.
Powerful in this. I just no, he's just not. The portrayal's not good. The portrayal is not good. I think the first bit with him being, obviously he's a fraud wizard. He's all that sort, and I get that, but it doesn't come across as some kind of what's the other word for a fraud? You know what I mean? Yeah, whatever. Like he doesn't come across as that. He just comes across as a cheesy, silly, stupid, like, oh, I'm a magician, I can do things, like, yay. And it just really didn't hit the mark.
I think the writing for me, just, it could be the performance, it could be the direction, it could be the writing, I'm not sure. It just felt very, we're here at 2013 modern Disney retelling of something. What I mean by that is that they go to great lengths at the beginning. Like the first 20 minutes of the movie, I think it almost matches the black, sort of like the sepia black and white stuff from the original Wizard of Oz.
The sepia look, do they? They go with some weird black and white, like, yeah, you've kind of, I know what you're trying to do, but it just looks silly. It's like, it's literally feels like a fucking 13-year-old's gone on Instagram going, oh, look, it can make things black and white. That's literally what it feels like.
Yeah, it's just black and white, and they I can't remember the aspect ratio, but it's like that really, really, really oldie worldy one where it's like a little square with a big black border. I actually appreciate Disney for doing something like that, especially for 2013, because I can imagine that sort of putting people off going for that sort of classic look. And there is an opening title sequence as well, which Sam Raimi tends to do quite a bit, but it seems like it's a lost art form now. So I appreciate all of that. But I wish they'd have gone, if they were trying to be nostalgic like that and doing it in black and white, I wish they'd have gone for maybe like some of the same camera angles and the same way of writing and performances, if they were trying to ape off that sort of like 1930s feel and aesthetic to the original Wizard of Oz. And I feel like it wasn't. I feel like it very much was big budget, you know, CGI filled blockbuster, I guess, if you will, made by Disney in 2013. Also, was this film released in 3D? There was so many shots where like things were coming out at the camera, or you'd have like magical fairies or pixies or flying monkeys flying right into the camera.
Avatar, maybe, but
because Avatar was 09, sort of like 09 into 2010. I feel like that
was the weird 3D peak where they went, everything's going to be 3D. And remember when like there was either the normal version or the 3D version for every movie?
Yeah.
Now that's a thing occasionally, but like they've realized no one wants to sit there wearing glasses and look at 3D movies that weren't even 3D, which is really
it comes in waves, doesn't it? Like the 80s had like a big 3D, like especially horror films like Jaws 3D and Friday the 13th Part 3 had all that 3D gimmicky stuff on there. And then it comes and goes. It will come again in December next month because Avatar 3's out, so it will be the high frame rate and
film.
Yeah. So but I was reading about the making of this film, and apparently Sam Raimi did use a lot of practical stuff. He used a lot of practical sets so that the actors would have some kind of reference, and actors would only be sort of like composited in over sort of like background pieces, like when they're wandering around Oz at the very beginning where James Franco meets Mila Kunis's character. But if that's the case, and then the actor who played, is it Zach Braff who plays the flying monkey? Oh yeah, okay. I knew I'd heard that name. I couldn't remember what he was in.
Yeah,
he was in like.
I think the two sidekicks are played well. Those are two things I think are cool. Like they have that little bit of a comedy aspect. I think their chemistry works well together. I do like them. That is the best part of the movie for me.
Mm-hmm. Well, for his character, I think, you know, the actor was on set, and I don't know if he was actually there in like a motion capture suit something.
He was there with at the beginning as well, wasn't he?
Yeah, they do that same aspect of the original Wizard of Oz, where people from the real life sort of bleed into the world of Oz. I mean, they do that in Return to Oz as well, don't they? They do that in all of them. And then apparently for the little China girl, they used like puppetry so that the actors had some kind of reference on set. And I appreciate all of that. And if you can do that, that is going to get the best performance out of your actors because there is actually something there in front of you. But if they did use all of these practical sets, I suppose they do when you get to like Munchkinland and, you know, elements of the palace. But honestly, all of those efforts seem completely wasted because it just gets drowned out by all the CGI noise to me. It was mostly the compositing. It was like when the lighting of the actor doesn't quite match on the background, and like the chroma key edges around the actor are like a little bit hazy. You can tell they've just been comped onto something. The example of that's always like one of the worst aspects is, have you seen Peter Jackson's King Kong film?
Yeah, that was fun.
Do you remember the Brontosaurus stampede? It's like, it's usually held as like some of the worst CGI in a movie.
Vaguely.
The big long neck dinosaurs chase that like stampede after all of the main characters.
It's been a long time, but yeah.
And you've got the actors that are sort of like running in place in front of a group, and they've like comped them in, but like the lighting of the actors doesn't match the shadows of the stampede and legs, and it just doesn't match. It looks really naff and fake. And there are a lot of moments like that in this film, and I thought it bogged it down a little bit. It reminded me actually of the aesthetic of Tim Burton's Alice in Wonderland. Even the poster, what I've used for the wallpaper of this thing, looks so much like the theatrical poster for Tim Burton's Alice in Wonderland. I mean, you've also got a score by Danny Elfman, so I suppose that aids the comparison there too. But it was the same art director, Robert Stromberg. He collaborated on Avatar and apparently Tim Burton's Alice in Wonderland. Now, I will say I prefer this movie to Tim Burton's Alice in Wonderland. I think it's
a lot of movies, Tim Burton's Alice in Wonderland.
Yeah, but after a point, the plot of this film just becomes Seven Samurai. It's Seven Samurai. The villagers are being beset by like another gang or something, aren't they? People coming in and trashing the village, so they enlist the help of a samurai to help them out and to fight with them and things like that. It's where your villagers revolt essentially, and they're horribly outnumbered, outgunned, and everything, but they're going to make a final stand and they're going to win it. That story has been used in everything, and it got to a point where I was like, yeah, we know where this is going. Like, it's very, very stock, and sometimes there's nothing wrong with that, but when you've got a 2+ hour movie and you're not really into it, it's just like, oh, okay. Yeah. But positives, there are some positives to this, so I'm just going to we can chat about them in depth as we go through. But I really liked the little China girl character. I thought she was a really sweet character. I thought she was wonderfully animated. And we talked about how the real world stuff sort of ebbs into the stuff in Oz. I do like the character arc that Oz goes on. I like that he is this, very sort of like chauvinistic, womanizing charlatan of a character. And that, there is this this woman who's interested in, played by Michelle Williams, who, she's been proposed to by someone else, but she clearly has feelings for James Franco, but he's very much into like the casual stuff. And it's his journey to become a better man. And there's that moment where he's doing his, his parlor tricks. He's doing his show. And this girl in a wheelchair says, please make me walk. I believe in you. You're a miracle maker. And it's nice when that moment gets sort of like capped off in the land of Oz, where he meets this China girl that's had, both of her legs broken off, sort of this like porcelain doll character, and a whole people and village has been decimated by flying monkeys. And there's that really sweet moment where he has the glue.
They're flying baboons.
Yeah, I hated that. I really didn't like that.
Yeah,
I didn't like that.
That it's probably it's another thing, isn't it, with MGM and the whole fucking, you can't have it too close, I guess.
Well, I don't know, but we have a flying monkey with one of the sidekicks, and he's like a normal monkey.
Yeah, we do. I guess
you could have made them sort of like more evil looking and sort of like ragged around the edges, but you could have just used the same.
Weird about the shading of green, but they're going to allow you to be green. I guess there is going to be. I don't know. I think it was one. I don't know though.
Yeah, it was just it didn't look right as baboons. I know baboons can be ferocious, so I guess that fits. But yeah, it's just when you get used to a certain look or a certain expectation, it did throw me a little bit, the sort of flying baboons, if you will.
Yeah, it's
yeah. But I liked the little China girl character. I thought she was really sweet. I loved the animation on her, and that was probably my favorite scene. If I had to pick like a single favorite scene, it was probably that one, where he helps her get her legs back. And then she becomes absolutely psycho after that, which was quite funny, where he says, right, okay, I've helped you now. Emerald City's back that way. And she's like, what, you're just going to leave me here? And she starts hysterically crying. And he says, well, you're going to help us. We got to go off and kill a witch. And then she's like, right, we're off to kill a witch. And she starts skipping down the road. I thought, oh, she's quite psycho. I kind of like this character. But yeah, she's a sweet character. I like the little China doll. She was probably my favorite character. I did like Mila Kunis's performance. I thought
I didn't.
Oh, you didn't? Okay. I thought she was quite fun.
I did at first. So I think Mila Kunis was better at the good side of her. I think that came across well. I think she was fine. But when the laugh that she had when she was the witch and all that, I was just like, no, no.
I did think it was really quick how she turns into the witch at the end. It was just like her sister sort of tricks her, doesn't she, and gives her an apple, and then she just bites into it, and then all of a sudden she's got like the witch outfit.
Start crossing Snow White with Wizard of Oz.
Ah, well, this is a good little bit of trivia here. I'm glad you mentioned Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. So, after Disney made Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs in 1937, they were looking to get the rights to the Wizard of Oz, and their next film was going to be something related to the Wizard of Oz. However, they found out at the time that, the rights to the first book had been purchased by Samuel Goldwyn, who sold it to Louis B. Mayer in 1938. And we get the classic Wizard of Oz film that we know. So they were kind of beaten to the punch, essentially, by MGM. But ironically, it was Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs and the success of that movie that gave MGM the confidence that, a fantasy fairy tale film can work. So they went out to get the rights, and then
do you know what I don't? No, I do get, but like, I mean, I do get it, because when you make movies and all that kind of stuff, you need to think what's going to be profitable. But the amount of things where, like, I mean, there's a lot of times, I guess, studios and stuff take risks, it doesn't work. But the amount of times studios take risks and it does work, and then you get companies that, usually it's the same sort of companies, will refuse to take a risk and only do it if they're jumping on a bandwagon, because they won't take a risk and possibly lose some money. And sometimes I do get sick of seeing that. I mean, I do understand why they'd not want to take a risk, because obviously it's going to cost them a lot of money. But sometimes I get sick of seeing that, thinking just like, they're like, fantasy can work. It's like, yeah, you should have tried it, because it's not, you make movies for a living. It's not rocket science to understand, how we can make this good. I don't know. Sometimes I see that kind of stuff and I'm just like, I don't know. Do you know what I mean?
Companies have just got to take that risk sometimes. And it is a risk, because it could horribly backfire and you could stand to lose a hell of a lot of money.
It could. But then when you look at, you made $2 billion last year, telling me you can't spend, over £5 million budget movie. I don't know. Do you know what I mean? Like, sometimes I see that kind of stuff, and and it's like these. I mean, well, Disney's just trying to play things safe all the time, and I'm like, fucking hell. Remember when you didn't do that and you became the biggest company in the world because you didn't play it safe?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, it's all sequels now, isn't it? So hopefully we get out of the doldrums soon with that. Anyway, we talked about this last week. We hit the 50s and Disney purchased the rights to the remaining 13 books in the Wizard of Oz series, and they were going to produce a live action film in the 50s, which was called The Rainbow Road to Oz, which never saw the light of day. And then eventually they make Return to Oz. After that, all of those 13 books are now in the public domain, because it's 100 years, isn't it? I think, before something moves into public domain.
No, I googled this the other day. Apparently, it's 70 years after the original person dies. The person that created it dies.
Right. Okay.
I always thought it was 100 years.
Yeah.
I think there's differences in different countries, but I think that's a general thing. I think that it's 70 years after the creator dies.
And then the one that we're talking about today, Oz the Great and Powerful, is actually the third version of Wizard of Oz that Disney have produced. We've got Return to Oz. They did a TV movie, The Muppets Wizard of Oz, which I think I've seen bits of. I remember it not being that great, but maybe I need to watch it again at some point. And then, of course, we've got this one.
They should do a Muppet Shaun of the Dead, shouldn't they?
They should do a Muppet Lord of the Rings. I think that would be incredible. And you'd have like you got to get like the one human actor in there, right? So I think Gandalf is a human. And then everyone else is a Muppet.
Yeah. That would that would go down well.
Now, what's really funny about this film is that Return to Oz often gets cited as a spiritual sequel, right? A spiritual successor to that 1930s Wizard of Oz movie. And although technically this is a spiritual prequel to the original Wizard of Oz, they weren't legally allowed to call it that. And there was a lot of things that they had to really be careful. They had to walk on eggshells with this movie. I think they had a special person who was hired on set to make sure that no legal boundaries were being crossed that might possibly infringe on the copyright from MGM. And I'm just going to go into a few of the bits now because it's absolutely insane. So we talked about the whole thing with the ruby slippers. And I know that Disney had to pay. I don't actually know how much they paid, but for Return to Oz, they had to pay a lot of money, to my knowledge, to get the rights to use those. The main one is the color of the green paint or the green skin on the Wicked Witch of the West. So I had to keep reminding myself of that because that is so in the pop culture. The Wicked Witch of the West is
that, though, she didn't
the green skin.
That different in terms of color.
It was the shade of the skin. It was the shade of the green.
Face was shit, but the and the weird black. I don't know. I didn't like that, but the shade of the green didn't look much different. To be fair,
it was a lot darker. It wasn't as vivid green, and apparently they couldn't use the signature chin mole that Margaret Hamilton had as the Wicked Witch of the West because that is all specifically the MGM one. In Munchkinland, they couldn't have the swirling yellow brick road that sort of swirls out leading out of Munchkinland. They couldn't use that either.
What I'm trying to think what it looked like.
I don't remember it looking very much different, but apparently they couldn't use that swirl. And also the Emerald City. had to look distinctly different compared to the original. I thought the room where the wizard sort of James Franco projects his just like his big head version of himself. I thought that room looked very similar to the MGM one, like the actual room, like where they walk. But I don't know. It almost looks like there's sort of like a green pipe organ or something in the background. It almost looks like that kind of effect. I always thought.
Yeah, I didn't notice too much on the shade and all that kind of stuff. I think it was done quite well.
But the pettiness doesn't end there between Warner Brothers and Disney at this point. Obviously, MGM is now, I think, sort of like owned by or an amalgamation of Warner Brothers. There was a copyright battle. So apparently in October 2012, Disney filed a trademark for the title Oz the Great and Powerful. And then a week later, Warner Brothers files a trademark for The Great and Powerful Oz. And apparently the US Patent and Trademark Office suspended Warner Brothers' attempts because they said they're basically filing for the same trademark that Disney did a week ago. It's funny, isn't it? Where you've got these two companies and rights, you can use these, but you can't do this. It sounds like anyone producing a Wizard of Oz film sounds like it'd be an absolute fucking nightmare to do it. But yeah, I think Wicked is done through Warner's, though, isn't it? It's done through Warner Brothers, so they have everything in place for that. I think I'm pretty sure it's Warner Brothers who handle that.
Also, Wicked is its own thing, isn't it? It's its own, like, it's a book on it and everything. So it's
Well, that also goes into the writing of this. So I mean, this film had did it have a bunch of writers? Yeah, there was a few writers that worked on this, but the initial concept was I'm just trying to find the writer now. I think it was Mitchell Kapner. I think it was him. He wanted to come up with an origin story for The Wizard of Oz, and he was trying to find a way in. And I think originally he wanted to do an origin for The Wicked Witch. This was before Wicked came out. So he was trying to think of an idea. And then when Wicked came out, he felt like, oh, God, I've missed my chance. Like, what else can you do now? The story's been told. It's this hugely successful book first, and then musical. So he was going through all the books, and eventually he settled on the character of Oz. And this is very interesting. You wouldn't get this nowadays. He said that you don't really get many fairy tales that have a male protagonist. You think of like all the classic fairy tales, you've got your Rapunzel, Cinderella, Snow White, things like that. It's usually always a female protagonist. And apparently he said, let me just see. Oh, this is producer Joe Roth, who the writer met with. And this is Joe Roth's quote. He says, quote, "During the years that I spent running Walt Disney Studios, I learned about how hard it was to find a fairy tale with a good, strong male protagonist. You've got your Sleeping Beauties, your Cinderellas, and your Alices, but a fairy tale with a male protagonist is very hard to come by. But with the origin story of The Wizard of Oz, here was a fairy tale story with a natural male protagonist, which is why I knew that was an idea for a movie that was genuinely worth pursuing," end quote. I don't think you'd have anyone in Disney saying that nowadays.
No, 2025. It's funny how that's the case, but no man kicked off and went, "Oh, we need this." Da, da, da. It was just, "Oh, I'm going to find a way to do this." It wasn't, some big agenda that they kicked off about. Whereas the other way around, they're like, "We need this. Let's change the laws. Let's make a certain percentage." But yeah.
That's the way it goes. Yeah, I was also looking that James Franco apparently accepted $7 million to star in this film. It's a nice, tidy sum of money, isn't it? There for I don't know how long they filmed this, but other things that I liked about the film. I really, really liked Michelle Williams. I just like Michelle Williams anyway. She always just seems really endearing, really sweet, and she plays Glinda in this. I thought she did a really, really good job.
I don't like her nose.
Leave her nose alone. Nothing wrong with her nose.
I mean, Mila Kunis's nose was a bit weird, but that was done on purpose. I just thought Michelle Williams, I thought she had a bit of a weird looking nose.
This film is, I mean, I was appreciating this when I was watching it. I was like, we've got Michelle Williams, we've got Mila Kunis, and we've got Rachel Weisz. I was like, this is good. This is good. This is a good trio to have. Fuck, marry, kill out of those three. Let's be really like chauvinistic about it. Let's go.
What Mila? That's a hard one. I think I'd like to marry Mila Kunis, just the sheer fact that you get that every day. But I'd kill Glinda. She's got a big nose.
Oh no! I
Like,
don't. What would I go for? I think fuck Mila Kunis, marry Michelle Williams, and then Rachel Weisz. Like, I'm sorry, she's great, but
the thing is,
gotta go.
Mila Kunis, when I see her though, I always see the her from like That 70s Show, and that kind of I'm not on about like, I'm not just saying like a young Mila Kunis, because I don't think she looks much different, to be fair. I think she's
she's always looked the same, hasn't she?
But
Yeah.
that attitude is what I kind of see from her. Like when I see it in a lot of her performances, and like the kind of like the way she styles her voice. So she's always just got this kind of I do rate her as an actress. I think I do think she comes across really well. And it's kind of, you know how some characters you think, oh, they just play the same person, but it gets boring. I think she's an actor where you can really see the same person a lot of the time, but it never gets old. It's always done very, very well. Like in Ted as well, you can see her just like I say, like That 70s Show, a similar sort of vibe to like the way she talks and everything. But it's not like, oh, it just feels like she's doing the same thing. It just feels like a unique take on her. So I think, you know, I do like her, and I think her performance as the Good Witch, like the Good Witch, yeah, I mean the good, when she starts off good and everything, I think is great. I think I just didn't like her evil portrayal. I just really didn't. That's where it felt like, obviously she did put on a mask, do you know what I mean? But it felt like she did just put on a mask and try to do something different. Now, this is, hear me out before I say this. So, you know how when Jack Nicholson played the Joker, I'm not slating Jack Nicholson's portrayal of the Joker, but his version of the Joker was very sort of like, it felt like Jack Nicholson playing the Joker.
Yeah,
as well.
yeah. I agree. Yeah.
Yeah, so, but as I say, so it's done well, and I didn't dislike that. But this is a similar sort of thing where it feels like she's putting herself in another character, and it just didn't feel as natural, is what I'm saying, with this with her performance went dark, which
yeah, as I said, I felt like that whole, it felt like, oh, we've got to get the Wicked Witch of the West, and how are we going to do it? Oh, she bites into a green apple, and then now she's evil. It felt like, oh, we've got to get her there, and it was very, very quick. There were some aspects I like, though. As I said, I was looking out for the Sam Raimi-isms, and there's definitely more than I thought there would be in this. So we get our Bruce Campbell cameo. I was looking for it all the way through the movie, and we got a Bruce Campbell cameo. I was really, really happy about that. There's a couple of other cameos as well. I can't remember the name of the actor. He's old as shit in this, but he's in the Spider-Man trilogy, and he plays Harry Osborn's butler, Bernard, in that film. And he's like this old in like Munchkin land. He's not a Munchkin. I think he's one of like the Tinkers or whatever they call them. And he's in a wheelchair. He's like a really, really old man in a wheelchair there, who says like, oh, we'll fight the witch or something. He gets like one line, but that was a cool cameo. I like stuff like that.
it's like Samuel Jackson in Kill Bill.
Yes. Yeah.
There he is.
And then there is a lot of this sort of like funny, weird zooms and everything like that. When we get towards like the witch stuff towards the end, that's where like Sam Raimi does horror and creepy imagery really, really creatively and really fun. Like the bit where she actually transforms into the witch and it's all done in silhouette was just like pure Evil Dead stuff, and I loved it. The bit where she like scratches her fingernails on the floor as she turns into the evil witch, there's that bit in Spider-Man 2 where the arms are going crazy in the hospital, and you've got that nurse that drags her nails on the floor, which always makes me cringe when it gets to that part. So there was all of that, and then all the stuff where like when you got like Rachel Weisz's character at the end, who turns into like this old haggard drag me to hell or Evil Dead witch, and she's basically like, I'll swallow your soul kind of thing. That was the stuff that I thought was really fun. I was like, yeah, that's Sam Raimi doing what he does best. Unfortunately, the rest of the film is, I won't even say it's bad. There's just something that doesn't quite work with me for it. I don't know if it's just a pretty forgettable effort. It's what would you, if you had to pin, like, if you had to say it like in one sentence, what do you think is just doesn't work about this film?
It misses the mark. It misses the point. It misses the point of so like I say, obviously it's got that stage presency kind of feel which Wizard of Oz has, which is great. So it knew what it wanted to do. It just didn't achieve it. It just felt very like wrong. It's kind of like the whole I don't want to relate it too much to this because they're still miles apart. But the new Superman movie, how it tried to go down a certain kind of route, it kind of tried to go a little bit more Marvel-y, going, right, okay, we're going to make this a bit funnier, but we're still going to keep it dark. But we're going to add, we're going to add that bit of swearing and make it a bit more relatable to a teenage audience, kind of like the Marvel movies did. But it just really missed that mark of going, yeah, but that's not. I think you kind of missed the idea of what makes it good. And it'd be like, oh, but there'd be certain jokes in that Superman movie which would be like, oh yeah, but that's in a similar vein. It's like, not really. You're not really seeing the same thing that you think you are. And that is basically what this movie was doing. There was a lot of that. So I think, yeah, like there was elements of like the background and the way it looked. And sometimes you look and it's a set piece and it did look kind of cool. And you're like, cool, they're going for this kind of vibe. But after like 30 seconds of looking at it, you're like, it's just, you're like, that looks a bit off, that looks a bit shitty, and then before you know it just looks cheesy. And when he does, I think, isn't there like a trick he does with the flowers at the beginning, and it's like, I kind of see, but no. And that's what I felt like in a lot of the movie, is that I see, but no. Like when the witch turns into, when it's black on not black and white, sorry, but the shadow, and it's that kind of Pinocchio kind of thing, transformation. I see what you were going for, and then the laugh, you're like, you're not. I felt that out of a lot of things. You see what they're going for, but they kind of missed it.
I feel like it loses that fairy tale aspect to it a little bit. And I think even Return to Oz had this. It was that sort of, dark fantasy. It fundamentally was a fairy tale and hits all the beats with that element of danger to it. This one strays into that, well, we're in 2013 now, and we've, people want like a giant battle scene and, CGI here, there, and everywhere, and just really over the top stuff. There's a lot of modern sort of, I won't say like modern terminology, but just a lot of the performances didn't feel like they belonged to this world of Oz. There was a lot of modern sounding stuff in there, I guess.
The movie Monster House.
I vaguely, yeah.
Yeah, and like there was a house that was basically a monster. And they had I don't even know what the fucking punching bag thing's called at the back of your throat. But you know the thing I'm on about, the little
yeah.
Like that, right? Now they were all these like, I don't know, 10-year-old kids, something like that, maybe 12, whatever. And I just remember this because it just stood out in my mind of just being really weird. The movie kind of knew what it was going for, and then you'd have weird things where the kids would be like, because there was that whole thing dangling, like it was a chandelier, and they went, oh, it's I don't know what the fucking name is, but they call it the name. And I'm like, and I remember sitting there just being like, you're a 10-year-old kid and you're acting like you're a fucking like, oh, you're some 40-year-old man that goes, I know what that is. I'm like, you're missing the whole thing of kids in this situation. And it just, yeah.
Seaman says, yeah, one of my favorite horrors. Yeah, I guess it is like a horror for kids, isn't it? Like sort of the same vein as like Nightmare Before Christmas or Corpse Bride, Coraline kind of thing.
Shit film.
I think ultimately just Oz the Great and Powerful for me, it's just a very ugly looking film, which I think is a bit of a shame. I don't think they needed a 215 mil budget on this film. I really don't. I think that's a little bit excessive there with all the stuff. And it probably was going for that 3D crowd. Yeah, I've just seen. Sorry, yeah, it was done in Disney digital 3D.
Powerful Oz the Great. Why not?
I thought Rachel Weisz seemed really bored as well as Evanora, the Wicked Witch of the East. I'll say that it was cool to see some of the other witches, because I mean, I don't know much about it. I think they have condensed them, because you've got like Theodora, who's the good witch of the north, but then becomes the wicked witch of the west. And I'm like, I don't think there is that switch in the books. I think there is a witch of the north.
Yeah, I think it's the north and the south are good witches, and it's the east and the west are the bad witches.
Yeah.
And one of them conveniently gets, smacked by a fucking house.
Well, that's Evanora, isn't it? Technically, is that? Yeah, the Wicked Witch of the East. So, yeah, they change aspects there, but I thought nonetheless that was cool. It was fun to see some more of like the lore of this world. But yeah, I just thought Rachel Weisz seemed really bored.
I think there are aspects like that where, it kind of did things that you're like, okay, I kind of see that. That's quite cool. I think there were good aspects to it. I just think every time you had a good aspect, it really missed the mark of what it was trying to do. Like even the costume designs, where you look at like Mila Kunis, she's wearing like the red and all that. I can see the vibe they're going with, but there's just something off about it all the time. That's like, yeah, but you could have done better. I don't know. There's just something, just off about this kind of movie. It's just,
Yeah, I don't know. I didn't really have a problem with the costuming. I think it was just sort of like the more like the visual look to me, and just it just felt a little bit too overblown for its own good. I think there's aspects to the character. I think like the character arcs that you know James Franco goes on, and some of the other supporting characters is very good, but I'd say this is definitely the weakest one of the Wizard of Oz films that we've looked at so far. This is sort of just like a bang average film for me. Even like the score as well. It started off, and I actually forgot that Danny Elfman did the score for this. I shouldn't do, because he's collaborated with Sam Raimi on loads of his films. But it started off in the first few bars in. I'm like, yeah, this sounds like Edward Scissorhands. This sounds like Batman. This sounds like Nightmare Before Christmas. And it's not me knocking at Danny Elfman. I like his music, but
this is the thing that I thought. Was Edward Scissorhands inspired by Cat in the Hat?
Why?
Because don't you see a similar vibe in the town?
Oh, it's been ages since I read that book.
I mean, I can't remember the book. Okay, maybe the other way around then. Do you wonder whether the look of the Cat in the Hat movie was inspired by Edward Scissorhands?
Maybe it's like that suburban, very colourful, sort of.
You see what I mean? It's quite
uncanny valley suburban town type thing. Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
I prefer Edward Scissorhands as a movie. It's a much better movie than the Cat in the Hat film. Jesus Christ!
Awful movie.
Yeah. That kind of killed the whole live action Dr. Seuss adaptations, because you had the Grinch, which was amazing.
It's because Grinch was great, and they went, let's do another, and I'm like, let's stop.
Cat in the Hat's the next one. That's the main one. Let's go, and then it just died on it. Yeah, just died straight after that.
Do a Green Eggs and Ham one. That'd be great.
Yeah, that was the one that I always read as a kid.
Yeah, that'll be one that they should.
I don't really know how you can drag that out.
Movie.
Yeah, exactly. They'd find a way. I mean, they did it with the Grinch. There's not a whole lot of stuff in the Grinch, really. But
I mean, as I say, the Grinch was great, and then they just ruined it with Cat in the Hat. It was like, and they got fucking Mike Myers and everything, and
yeah, they were going for that star power, all in the makeup and the costumes, similar, yeah.
But they also got Liam Neeson for Star Wars Episode 1, and you know,
wasted. Yeah, I guess we can sort of round it off there, I suppose, in terms of our review on this one. It's a bang average movie. I'd never go back to this one. I don't think.
I would give it a solid 5. It's very, because even though I've got a lot of complaints and a lot of things, I'm like, that like there are things that you go, do you know what? That's really cool. Like I say, I agree with you. The China doll, that's my favorite character, and I think she can come across really well. And the thing is, because you know when she goes all psycho and does whatever, it's again that really kind of creepy vibe. And you know, I absolutely love dolls, right? But I love dolls because it's like, I know you hate dolls and it's a creepy kind of thing. It's like spiders. People hate spiders. I fucking love spiders. I absolutely love a lot of things that people hate. And I think I have a weird fucked up aspect of like, if I know someone doesn't like it, I'm like, that's really cool though. And there's just something about my brain that likes the fact that people find it creepy and disturbing. So, you know, and it's just, so it's one of those things, like I know it's obviously that creepy kind of look to it. And I think some things it does hit the mark, and I do think, you know, with like the monkey, and I think they had good chemistry. I think there was a bit of there's a couple little banter jokes which I think worked, and I think it was quite fun. And so I think the strong aspects, when things were strong, it was cool. You know, I think it was just surrounded by so much that you're like, oh, you missed the mark. And then you see things, you go, yeah, see, that's cool. And then you're left with another 15 minutes of like, you're missing the mark. And then something will pop up. So it's 5.
Agreed. Well, that'll do it for our review on this one. But next week is the big one. We're talking about Wicked.
A long one
which came out last year. Yeah, Wicked Part 1, whatever you want to call it. Obviously, we're doing all these in the lead up to Wicked for Good. I still have not seen the first Wicked film. I feel like I'm the only human on the planet who hasn't seen it at this point. But that will be changed within the week. I will be watching this film, so which will gear us up nicely for Part 2. I was going to say, I don't know what to experience. That Wicked's just everywhere. We know this. Well, I was going to say we know the music. Well, I know the song. I have actually listened to the soundtrack to Wicked, and I must admit, not many songs stuck with me. But maybe it's going to be different when I've got the actual, you know, the whole story played in front of me, and I'm not just listening to the music. I've actually seen all the surrounding parts to it. I've heard pretty good things about it. genuinely, like, even people that don't usually like musicals, this isn't really their thing. I've heard that it is like a lavish production, and it does look really good.
If you were, if you resided in Germany in 1938, you would have heard good things about Hitler. But no, but the thing is, like, I'm not a big fan of musicals and that kind of thing. And we'll get into it next week, I know, but I'm just saying I'm not a big fan of musicals and that sort of thing. And yeah, I can see when people like it, even though I'm not the biggest fan of that kind of thing. But yeah, I definitely have a favorite scene, which I will go into next week.
SeaWorld Man says it's enjoyable, nothing amazing, and gives it a 7 out of 10. Would you say that's fair?
That's fair. That's fair. I think if I liked musicals more and that type of musical, I think I would have enjoyed it a lot more.
Well, I like musicals, so I'm excited to see it. Let's see what they do.
Ruin the witch.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, we'll be talking about Wicked Part 1 next week. But before then, we'll be live again in 2 days' time, continuing our Studio Ghibli retrospective. We'll be talking about Hayao Miyazaki's The Wind Rises, which I need to get watched tomorrow. Just over 2 hours, I think, that one. So I want to try and get it in tomorrow if I can. But yeah, we'll be live. We'll be chatting movies. So if you like our stuff and you're curious to see other stuff that we do, please do consider subscribing. And let us know your thoughts on Oz the Great and Powerful. We didn't have the usual bunch of Oz fans in tonight. We had SeaWorld Man, so thank you very much for tuning in, SeaWorld Man. And if anyone else catches this review later, let us know your thoughts on this one. But I think maybe the fact that some people aren't tuning into this one tonight probably tells you everything that you need to about this film. Yeah, that'll do it for us then, and we'll catch you on the next video. Take care, everyone.